Let's take a look at the topic of factorisation. This involves writing an expression as the product of its factors. When we have several terms, the highest common factor, or HCF, is removed from each term and placed outside brackets. Let's have a look at an example of that. If I have 12x plus 18, I look at the 12 and the 18 and say, what is a number that fits into both of those? What's the highest number that fits in, the highest common factor? 3 goes into both of those, but it's also true that 6 goes in. 6 is the highest common factor. So I'll take out a 6 and introduce a bracket. Now we decide what goes in the bracket. 6 times what gives 12x? 6 times 2 will give 12, but we still need the x, so 6 times 2x, that will give me the 12x. We also want to get positive 18, so we will need a positive 3. Let's have a look at another example. Let's take 9a minus 63. Now 9 in fact goes into 63, so our common factor for 9 and 63 is 9. We then work out what goes in the brackets. 9 times a will give us 9a. 9 times minus 7 will give us our minus 63. And so we've factorised that one. Next example is x squared plus 4x. Now this time we don't have a number common factor, but we have a pronumeral common factor of x. So we'll take out an x and introduce a bracket. X times what gives x squared? X times x. X times what gives 4x plus 4. If we were to expand that out, we would get x times x, which gives us x squared, and x times 4, which gives us 4x. So it's a good idea after we've factorised to check by expanding out, even if we do that on a rough piece of paper. Our next example is 16x squared minus 12x. Now this time we have a number common factor of 4. 4 is the highest common factor of 16 and 12. And then we'll look at the letters. X squared and x, a common factor of x. We introduce a bracket and work out what should go inside. 4x times what gives 16x squared? Well, we need a 16, so 4x times 4, that gives me the 16, but we want an x squared, so we'll introduce an x. So 4x times 4x will give us that 16x squared. The next term is negative, so I'm putting a negative sign there, and I want to get a negative 12, so I'll need 4 times negative 3, but notice I don't need to do anything more, because now I've got 4x times negative 3 gives us negative 12x, and that's what we wanted. So that's finished. Let's look at number 5. This time the first term is negative. When that's the case, we take out a negative common factor, because that's common to both terms. So we take out a negative. We then look at the numbers, 25 and 5. The highest common factor is 5. We then look at the letters, x squared and x. The highest common factor is x, and now we work out what should go inside the brackets. Negative 5x times what gives negative 25x squared. We want to get a 25, so we'll be multiplying our negative 5 by 5. And we want to get an x squared, so we'll be multiplying our x times another x. That takes care of the first term. Now notice the second term's negative, but I've put a positive sign here. That's because when I multiply by negative outside term by the inside term, I want to get a negative 5x. So a negative times a positive will give me that negative. I also need to get a 5, but I've already got one, and I need to get an x, so I've already got one. So I simply put a 1 there, and if I expand that out, that gives us the original statement. Let's look at another example, 6a squared plus 8ab plus 10a. Notice there are 3 terms here, 10ab squared rather. Notice there are 3 terms here. And again, we'll do the numbers separately. 6, 8 and 10 have a common factor of 2. A squared, 8ab and AB squared, the common factor there is A. They all contain at least an A. Right, notice this one doesn't contain any B's, so B is not a common factor to all three terms. So I take out an A, and now I introduce a bracket and work out each of the terms inside. I want to get 6A squared, 2A times 3, that gives me the 6, but I need another A. That'll give me 6A squared. Now to get the 8AB, 2 times 4 gives me the 8. Now I want an AB. At the moment, I've got an A outside. So this A needs to be multiplied by a B. So 4B does the trick. And the last term is 10AB squared. I want to get a 10, so I'm going to need a 5. Now I've already got an A outside the bracket, so I don't need to introduce an A, but I do need a B squared. And that's it.